Let's go ahead and take a look at the quarterfinal matchups. The headliner, no doubt about it, Bayern Munich and PSG. Action getting underway April 6th. It's a rematch of last year's final winner. That gets the winner of Manchester City, Borussia Dortmund in the semifinals. That could be an incredible matchup as well. Other side of the bracket, Real Madrid, Liverpool, another Champions League final rematch. A winner of that gets the winner between Porto and Chelsea. PSG Bayern seems like an obvious place to start. So does Julien Laurens' Twitter in the moments after it was announced. Jules, I see a lot of emojis. None of them are happy with your PSG ways. Why so pessimistic?
It's not being pessimistic. It's just that this is the toughest draw with Man City that PSG could have had, and it was more of I was more being like, it was just like, all right, okay, here we go again. I don't think that it's dead certain that PSG will be knocked out by Bayern Munich. I think they certainly, I would see some weaknesses in that Bayern Munich team, of course. And if you remember the Champions League final, PSG for most of that final were really good and created a lot of chances and should have scored or could have scored. And maybe the outcome of that final would have been different if they had taken their chances. So I don't think it's dead certain that Bayern will win, but it's still the toughest draw that they could have had. And it's a shame that they had such a tough draw.
Archie, you're in Germany. I wonder what was the reaction there. Do people see Bayern as the odds-on favorite for this?
They do, but they still look at what PSG had to offer. And as Jules states there, that final was a very close one. The difference this time round is that Eric Maxim Choupo-Moting will be wearing the red of Bayern Munich. He'll probably be on the bench, though, as it stands. But no, in all seriousness, if you play that game that Bayern and PSG did last season, if you play that 10 times, I don't think more than 6 or 7 of them really are going to go in Bayern's favour, which is still the majority. But that is to say that the amount of space that Bayern leave behind their backline is an opportunity for any team, even more so when you have Kylian Mbappe there as well. Neymar's fitness, I know he's been out recently, but as you can see by the amount of goals that Bayern have conceded in the Bundesliga this season, they are there to be got at. The question is, can you outscore them? And right now, tricky to see that.
Craig, how do you see this one playing out? And do you think it'll bear any similarities to what we saw in last year's Champions League final?
Got a funny feeling it'll be even more exciting than the final. I mean, the final was obviously very, very tense. And I thought, as that game wore on, Bayern defended pretty well against that PSG attack. But listen, one, they need to get Neymar fit and available. They need to have the strongest team because that's what these players were brought in for. Now that's kind of out of their hands. But I think Jules will know better than me, but I think he should be back from what we're hearing. And from Bayern's perspective, yes, they're top of the Bundesliga. Leipzig are putting them under some pressure. But it's not all been plain sailing. I mean, as Archie said, they're outscoring teams, but they were 2-0 down against Dortmund, had to fight their way back. They had a really poor performance in Frankfurt where they lost. Okay, they had some injuries, but it wasn't a great afternoon for them. So it's not flawless from Bayern, but they're the team to beat. I mean, we can talk about City and PSG. Bayern are the team to beat. They're the champions. They haven't gone away, and they still have that experience. So yeah, they're the favourites, but boy, it should be a great couple of games.
Jules, the big Neymar question is out there now. I guess we have to say, will he be back, and what impact would it have if he's not available?
So he will be back 100% unless there's a setback between now and the first leg next month. The problem is, and he shaved his beard, by the way, which makes him look 5 years younger and probably 10 kilos lighter. But the problem is there's a game on Sunday against Lyon, which is a huge clash in the title race in France, which he might be able to start it, but won't be able to play the whole 90 minutes. Then it's in the international break, and as we know, in South America, there's no qualifiers, so he will be in Paris. And then you've got one game the weekend before the Champions League comes back, and that's it. So potentially just 1 game and a half that he will be able to play before the Bayern Munich clash. And because he hasn't played for more than a month now, he might be really short in terms of match fitness, which is a worry for PSG, a worry for Neymar, because as Greg was saying, he's so important to that team just by retaining the ball, for example, and in all the patterns of play, but also because he could be decisive at any time against anyone in a game. So the fitness of Neymar would be a little worry, but at least he's back, and with him in the team, it's a very, very different story.
Seb, that's actually a good point, because, sorry, Shaq, but one of the criticisms that not necessarily from us, but one of the scenarios that's been thrown out there over the last numerous years with PSG is they come into the later stages of the Champions League knockout competition, and they've kind of got, most seasons, not all, they've kind of got League On wrapped up, and they're already kind of switching off, and then they've got to flick that light switch again for the Champions League. That's what some people have said has been the reason for them at times to get knocked out. Well, this season they haven't got that because, as Joe said, they're in a fight, and so they can't switch off weekend to weekend with the Champions League games coming up in midweek, because they're still fighting for that title. So that actually could spur them on, that the fact that they're having to be competitive in the weekend, and they're not sort of 10 or 14 points clear at the top and switching off. So we'll see if that has any effect on their performances, because they're going to have to perform at top level if they're going to beat this Bayern side.
Shaka, how significant is the gap between the two teams?
I think more than enough that Bayern got this job done and done quite easily. Listen, as we keep saying, this is a quarterfinal, so there are good. Every team left poses a viable threat, and if Neymar comes in and contributes in the way that we know he can, yes, it gives Bayern Munich a lot to think about. I also think that if you do want to knock the biggest of clubs off of their perch, it's easier to do so in a one-off game, as per PSG and the final, though they didn't get it done. Over two, it's an even huger ask. And though Bayern Munich have had their issues, and in particular since returning from Qatar, where they return, they draw one, they lose one, but then in the next 5 games they score 18 goals. And that speaks to their strength. Though they concede, I just don't see how certainly this PSG stop Bayern Munich scoring over 2 legs, where I just feel they are just so much better.
Jules, real quickly, do you see the
Seth,
Champions League winner? Oh, go ahead.
No, I was just going to say that there's one factor as well that we need to take into account for both PSG and Bayern, and that's that they've both got really big domestic games on the weekend before this. PSG will face Lille, who are currently top of Liga, and Bayern have to go away to RB Leipzig. So the fact that they have to calculate that in, there's not, I would say, the usual room for rotation, at least in terms of Bayern. If Bayern were playing somebody in the bottom 3 sides of the division, then I'd expect maybe 1 or 2 players to sit on the bench. But I think that's going to play a role in this game as well.
Thanks so much for watching ESPN on YouTube. And for more sports highlights and analysis, be sure to download the ESPN app. And for premium content and live streaming, subscribe to ESPN Plus.